My spouse turned cold after my promotion. Here's how I handled the betrayal. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. I should have remembered the cake, not the silence. They dimmed the lights at the restaurant. My team cheered. My name shimmered in chocolate on a gold plate. VP. I stood to speak, voice shaking in that good way success makes your ribs ring. And when I looked for my husband's face, I found him already checking the bill. The smile he gave me didn't reach his eyes. It was a polite nod you give to a stranger at the baggage carousel. On the drive home, he gripped the wheel like it had insulted him. Congratulations, he said. The word filed down until it barely had edges. Just remember who you are, okay? People change when they get titles. I laughed because I didn't know it was a warning. It's still me. He didn't answer. The dashboard washed us in cold blue. My phone buzzed with a waterfall of hearts and exclamation points. His lay face down in the cup holder, screen black, as if refusing to celebrate with me. At home, he vanished into the shower, and I wandered the kitchen, half drunk on adrenaline, tracing a fingertip through the condensation on the wine bottle. The apartment smelled like lemon oil and newness, my life finally making sense. I pictured calling my mom, texting my sister, dancing to a dumb song. Instead, I heard the water shut off and his voice float down the hall. You'll be busier now. Don't expect me to fill in for everything you drop. Everything I drop. The words landed like plates. This helps both of us, I said, steady but small. We've wanted this. He tugged on a t-shirt, eyes flat. Don't get dramatic. I'm just realistic. We ate celebration takeout with the TV on mute. He picked at his food like it had wronged him. Every time my phone chimed, his jaw ticked. When I reached for his hand, he pretended not to notice, then stood to rinse his plate as if affection were something that left stains. He went to bed early. I stayed up late answering the flood of messages, the ones that said things like knew you'd do it, and finally they see you. Somewhere between gratitude and disbelief, the apartment folded into a hush so complete I could hear the refrigerator hum. I poured myself one last inch of wine and opened the work laptop because he'd accused me of changing, and I needed to prove, to him, to me, that I hadn't. That's when I saw it. A calendar invite I hadn't created. Tomorrow, 7 a.m. Breakfast, Savoy Hotel. Organizer, Leo, my husband. Attendees, 2 names I recognized from my promotion meeting, and one I knew too well to misread. Savannah Blake, my new boss. I stared until the letters blurred. We share calendars. He knows that. The invite was set to private, but not private enough. A second notification slid across my screen. A new credit card alert. $4.82, Savoy Bar, last night, 11:14 p.m. While I was toasting with my team, he'd already found a different table. My chest went tight, the way it does right before you say a thing you can't take back. I patted down the hall. He was on his side, facing the wall, phone glowing under the duvet like a small moon. I've never been the person who checks. Tonight, I checked. I lifted the corner of the blanket. The screen lit my face, and a preview bloomed above the lock screen. Savannah, congrats to her. Tomorrow we start. I slept in 5-minute fragments and woke before the sun. The text burned into my eyelids like an afterimage. I put his phone back where I found it, lay still until his breathing evened out again, then set my alarm for an hour earlier than usual. When it buzzed, he didn't stir. I made coffee, poured his into the travel mug he likes, and watched the steam curl like a question I couldn't answer. He wandered in, hair damp, lips pressed into that neutral line. Big day, VP, he said, kissing the air somewhere near my cheek. Don't forget who you are. You either, I said, too softly for him to ask what I meant. He left before me. I left 10 minutes after him. The Savoy's breakfast room looked like money had learned how to whisper. Silver clinked, suits murmured. A pianist tried to make 7 a.m. feel like midnight. I took a table behind a ficus near the back wall where the lighting turned every reflection into a ghost. From there, I watched Leo stride in like he owned the carpet and slide into a corner banquette beside Savannah Blake. She didn't look like a monster. She looked like competence poured into a cream blazer. Clean lines, clean smile, eyes that didn't blink enough. 2 other faces from the promotion panel joined them. A leather folio thudded on the table. Savannah opened it to a tab marked Stability Plan. I hit record on my phone and pretended to read the menu. Optics are our first problem, Savannah said, low and even. Rapid change unsettles donors. If she stumbles early, we pivot quietly. No drama. Leo's jaw worked. She only stumbles when the ground moves under her. She hates surprises. Then we introduce a few. One of the panelists offered, faux casual. Delays. Conflicting directives. Forced tough calls that can be second-guessed. Leo leaned in, voice almost proud. Vendor access runs through me. If briefs arrive an hour late, her deck slips. If the beta link is the wrong build, she presents bad data. She'll over-explain, look shaky. She hates chaos, she'll drown in it. Something in me snapped a quiet sound, like a hairline crack in glass. Savannah didn't flinch. She rested 2 fingers on Leo's wrist, not intimate, just proprietary. And the narrative? Concern for scale, he said smoothly. Great number 2, maybe not ready to steer. We frame it as protecting the mission. And the complaint? Savannah asked, eyes flat. Leo's thumb flicked across his phone. Scheduled. Anonymous. Conflict of interest rumblings about her vendor shortlist. Enough smoke to merit fact-finding. My phone buzzed. HR, mandatory check-in today, for PM. Subject line, conduct clarification. I tasted metal. The pianist switched to something cheerful. It felt obscene. Savannah closed the folio. Then we begin. She won't see it as help, but it is. For the organization. A clean step down, Leo said. I'll make sure she takes it. He stood to leave. For a second his eyes swept the room, past the ficus, past me, the woman he promised to protect, without landing. He walked out lighter than he'd walked in. I stared at the HR email until the words blurred. Then I saved the audio, forwarded it to a new folder I named Insurance, and texted myself a single sentence so I couldn't pretend later that I'd misunderstood. They are building a story where I don't survive. At 4 p.m., they plan to make me confess to a crime I didn't commit. HR's conference room was staged like a mercy killing, water bottles aligned, tissues centered, blinds tilted to a soft, non-judgmental gray. Nora from HR smiled with her lips only. Savannah sat to her right, immaculate, a pen poised like a scalpel. A compliance guy I didn't know closed the door and placed a folder in front of me as if serving a verdict. Thanks for coming on short notice, Nora began. This is a supportive conversation. Supportive. There it was, the word they lace around a noose. Savannah folded her hands. We're all rooting for you, she said. But concerns surfaced about process integrity. Routine at transitions. Her tone made routine sound like inevitable. The folder contained an anonymous report, alleged conflicts with my vendor shortlist, insinuations that I'd tipped a supplier, screenshots of a Slack thread I'd never written, timestamped at 2:11 a.m. From my account, the messages were perfect imitations of my cadence, down to the I overuse when tired. I didn't write these, I said. My voice surprised me by staying level. And the vendor sequence? Access runs through operations. Ask Leo. Savannah didn't blink. We don't bring spouses into internal matters. I let the sentence hang there until everyone could hear how ridiculous it sounded. Then bring operations. Nora slid a paper across to me. Interim step back, language dressed in care. Maintain title, relinquish approvals, weekly check-ins. A socialized narrative about shared leadership. Translation. We'll keep your nameplate, empty your desk, and call it mentorship. I want copies of the evidence, I said. Internal only, compliance murmured. Then I'll respond in writing, I said, after I consult counsel. Savannah's smile thinned. We hoped you'd see this as help. Help that arrives with a shovel and a headstone. The meeting ended with promises of next steps. In the hallway, Jules from comms brushed past me, eyes bright with something between fear and fury. She didn't slow, only dropped her lanyard as if by accident. When I picked it up, a folded note hid beneath it. Check your router logs. He used your account. Priya from IT. My heart jackknifed. At home, I opened the admin panel with the password Leo swore he'd simplified for me. The log scrolled like a confession, nighttime connections, a VPN tunnel I'd never installed, a device alias named Aegis piggybacking on our Wi-Fi at 2:03 a.m. Then again at 2:11. I copied the MAC address into a lookup, hands shaking. A text buzzed from an unknown number. I'm sorry. They made me. Check the DHCP lease names. The lease name beside Aegis refreshed, blinking into plain text. Leo iPhone. My throat closed. The Slack messages that proved my misconduct weren't mine at all. They were his. And then the front door latch clicked. The sound of the latch sliding open froze me harder than any HR threat. My laptop screen still glowed with the router logs, his digital fingerprints stamped all over my supposed crime. My pulse hammered in my ears. I snapped the lid halfway shut, enough to dim the light, but not enough to lose the page. Babe. Leo's voice floated down the hall, casual, almost cheerful. You home early? Early. As if today hadn't been engineered by him. As if the note in Jules's hand, the VPN alias, the phantom Slack messages were all just coincidences. I forced air through my lungs. Yeah, HR wanted a quick chat. He appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie. He looked buoyant, like someone who'd just won an invisible prize. All good, I hope. His confidence was a tell. He expected me to say yes. He expected me to fold into the version of reality he'd scripted. I tilted the laptop so the glow painted his shirt front. Tell me, Leo, I said, steady. What's Aegis? For half a breath, he was stone. Then he laughed, too sharp, too quick. What are you even talking about? The device on our router. Logging in at 2:11 a.m., sending messages that look exactly like mine. His eyes narrowed, a flicker of calculation passing over them. You've been stressed. You're seeing patterns. Gaslighting, precise, practiced. He stepped closer, palms up like he was soothing a startled animal. You worked so hard for this role. Sometimes paranoia feels real when you're under pressure. I wanted to scream. Instead, I clicked the laptop open and turned the screen to him. The MAC address glared back, the lease name stamped bold, Leo iPhone. His face didn't crumble. It hardened. Cold fury replaced the mask of calm. You shouldn't dig where you don't understand, he said quietly. It wasn't denial. It was a warning. The silence stretched until the refrigerator hummed louder than both of us. Then he smiled. Too wide, too false. Fine. You found something. But think carefully. Who's HR going to believe? The man who's been steady and supportive, or the woman suddenly paranoid after a promotion? The words burned, because I knew he was half right. Evidence or not, they'd already set the narrative. I gripped the laptop, fingers aching. I'll make them believe me. He leaned in, his breath warm at my ear, his voice venom disguised as velvet. Then you'd better be ready to lose everything else. Because if you drag me down, I won't fall alone. The next morning, I found an envelope slipped under the front door. No sender, just my name scrawled in block letters. Inside were photographs, grainy, candid shots of me at work, in cafes, leaving HR yesterday. And on the back of the top photo, in red ink, stay quiet, or we'll make sure your promotion is the least of what you lose. The photos spread across the kitchen table like a crime scene. My own face stared back at me from angles I hadn't noticed, shoulders hunched as I left HR, head bowed in a cafe corner, eyes half closed in the elevator. They weren't screenshots or security footage. Someone had followed me. Someone close enough to breathe my air, and I hadn't felt a thing. The red scrawl on the back bled through faintly, stamping my expression with its warning. Stay quiet, or we'll make sure your promotion is the least of what you lose. My hands shook so violently, I nearly spilled the coffee I hadn't touched. I pressed my palms flat against the table, grounding myself in the cool laminate. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't stress. They were watching me. The shower hissed down the hall, Leo, humming under the spray. As if nothing had shifted. As if he hadn't turned our home into a cage lined with cameras I couldn't see. I slid the photos back into the envelope and shoved it under the stack of unopened mail. Then I opened my laptop and typed furiously, router logs prove manipulation. Slack messages forged. Photos delivered anonymously, evidence of surveillance. I saved the file to the insurance folder, the one mirrored to 3 clouds and a thumb drive I kept taped under the drawer. At work, Jules found me in the hallway. Her eyes darted side to side before she leaned in. You saw the logs? I nodded. Then you know. Her voice was barely a whisper. He's not acting alone. Savannah's got a pipeline straight into compliance. They've done this before, quiet removals, character assassinations. You're the first to catch it mid-play. My chest tightened. So I'm marked. Jules swallowed. We're all marked. You just got unlucky first. That night, I waited until Leo fell asleep, his breathing heavy, even, and unlocked his phone. My fingers trembled as I scrolled past mundane texts about bills and groceries until I found a hidden folder buried under notes. Dozens of screenshots, my calendar invites, my emails, drafts of complaints written in my name but never sent. And at the bottom, a text thread labeled with a single initial, S, Savannah. The last message was timestamped just hours earlier. S. She won't stay quiet. You'll need to escalate. My stomach dropped as the bed creaked behind me. Leo shifted, his eyes snapping open. And in the phone's glow, I realized he wasn't asleep at all. Leo's eyes glinted in the dim glow of his phone, not groggy, not confused. Sharp, awake, waiting. My breath hitched. He rolled onto his back, stretching like a cat that had cornered its prey. Couldn't sleep? He asked, voice syrupy, too calm. I clenched the phone tighter. You knew I'd look. He smirked. Of course. Curiosity's your fatal flaw. You think you're uncovering secrets when really, he tapped his temple. You're walking straight into the story we wrote for you. The way he said we made my skin crawl. Savannah's message echoed in my skull. You'll need to escalate. I rose from the bed, clutching the phone, heart hammering. HR has my statement. I've mirrored the evidence. If anything happens to me, then what? He sat up, swinging his legs over the side of the bed. The shadow of his body cut across the moonlight spilling through the blinds. They'll mourn you for a week, replace you in a month, and forget you by Christmas. Meanwhile, Savannah and I keep the narrative clean. Ambitious VP suffers stress breakdown. Convenient, tidy. Rage flared hotter than fear. You underestimate me. His smile flattened into something colder. No, I don't. That's why we're already ahead of you. He reached into the nightstand and slid an envelope across the sheets. Inside were bank statements, my account, showing transfers to a shell vendor I'd never heard of. Thousands, neatly staged to mirror a bribery pattern. My hands shook as I scanned the numbers. You forged these. Did I? His voice was silk over glass. Or will that little insurance folder of yours suddenly look like an attempt to cover your own tracks when these surface? The floor tilted beneath me. They weren't just sabotaging my promotion. They were laying the groundwork to bury my entire career, maybe my freedom. I backed toward the door, clutching the envelope. You won't win. He tilted his head, eyes flat. I already have. You're still in this house, aren't you? I fled to the kitchen, every step echoing like a countdown. My phone buzzed with a new text from the blocked number that had sent the photos. You're in danger. Meet me tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pier 17. Come alone. P. I stared at the glowing screen, the silence of the apartment pressing in. Behind me, Leo's voice drifted down the hall, calm, almost amused. Don't be late for breakfast. The morning air stung like betrayal itself, salt, diesel, and the sour reek of gulls circling above the pier. I kept my hood up, sunglasses on, the envelope of forged bank statements pressed against my ribs under the jacket. Every step toward Pier 17 felt like a dare. Come alone, it had said. I'd obeyed, but every instinct screamed I was walking into a trap. The pier stretched out like a finger pointing into gray water. Only one figure waited at the far end, back turned, leaning against a piling. Small frame, messy bun escaping from under a knit cap. I exhaled when she turned. Priya, from IT. Her eyes flicked past me, scanning for tails. You weren't followed? I don't think so. My voice cracked. She tugged me into the shadow of a shipping container. You need to understand, this isn't just Leo. He's sloppy. Yes, but Savannah, she's perfected this. She's done it before, 3 times in the last 5 years. Rising execs, women, especially, quietly forced out with fake misconduct trails. One OD'd a year later. One vanished overseas. It's not random. My skin crawled. Why me? Priya's gaze softened. Because you won. And you weren't supposed to. She slipped a thumb drive into my palm, fingers icy. Router logs, VPN traces, metadata from his iPhone. Enough to prove the Slack posts were spoofed. But listen, don't go back home. If he knows you've got this, he'll escalate. You saw the photos. You're already under watch. I clenched the drive until it bit my skin. Proof. At last, something solid. Then I'll take it to HR. Or the board. Or the police. Priya shook her head hard. HR's compromised. Compliance too. They'll bury it. The only chance is going public. Media, maybe regulators. Somewhere Savannah can't spin it first. A gull shrieked above us, sharp enough to slice the air. We both flinched. That's when I noticed the black SUV idling at the mouth of the pier, engine low, windows tinted too dark. Priya's eyes widened. Run. The SUV's door cracked open. A man in a suit stepped out, his hand cupped to an earpiece. He wasn't a dock worker. He wasn't lost. I bolted, clutching the thumb drive like it was oxygen. My boots pounded wood, echoing across water. Behind me, the man shouted into his mic. Another door slammed. Priya's voice ripped the wind. Don't stop. They're not here for me. They're here for you. And in that instant, I realized she was right. They didn't need to silence Priya. They needed to erase me. My lungs burned as I tore down the pier, the boards rattling under each step. The SUV's engine roared behind me, a predator waking from its nap. I clutched the thumb drive, so tight the plastic edges cut into my palm. This wasn't evidence anymore. It was a lifeline. Keep going. Priya screamed, her voice swallowed by the slam of another car door. Two men in suits sprinted after me, shoes thudding on wood. The first was fast, too fast. I cut left, vaulting over a coil of rope, nearly slipping where sea spray slicked the planks. The water below was dark and freezing, a promise of death if I misstepped. Ahead, the pier forked into two smaller jetties, one dead-ended at a locked gate. The other stretched toward a ferry dock already humming with commuters. Salvation or corner. I gambled right. The crowd gasped when I shoved through them, nearly toppling a man with a briefcase. Sorry, I choked out, but my apology vanished in the chaos. Behind me, the men barked orders. Stop her. Security breach. Their lies rolling off their tongues like second nature. My chest heaved. Panic clawed at me, but adrenaline sharpened the edges. I ducked behind a pillar, thumb drive still in my fist. My phone buzzed. A new message, block number again. Don't go home. Safe house. 143, Willow Street. Key under mat. Willow Street. 20 minutes from here, near the edge of the city. My pulse spiked. Who was feeding me this? Priya? Or someone playing a deeper game? Hey, a hand closed on my arm. I twisted, ready to fight. But it was a ferry guard, face creased with suspicion. Ticket. I shoved cash into his hand without thinking. Keep the change. He blinked, startled by the wad, but waved me through. Behind him, the suited men shoved through the crowd, scanning faces, radios crackling. The ferry horn bellowed. I sprinted onto the deck just as the ramp lifted, metal clanging like a final judgment. One of the men lunged, fingers brushing my sleeve, but the gap widened, and he stumbled back, cursing. I collapsed against the railing, lungs clawing for air, city shrinking behind me in a haze of smoke and glass. The men stared from the dock, their silhouettes shrinking as the boat pushed into open water. For the first time in days, I had distance. A sliver of safety. But as I opened my palm, the thumb drive slick with sweat, my stomach dropped. Across the ferry deck, someone was watching me. Not a commuter, not a worker. A woman in a cream blazer. Savannah. She lifted her phone, snapped a photo, and mouthed a single word. Run. Savannah's eyes locked on mine across the ferry deck, steady as a blade. The cream blazer made her stand out among commuters in windbreakers and scarves. She wasn't hiding. She didn't need to. My breath hitched. The thumb drive dug into my palm, a shard of truth I suddenly doubted. If Savannah was here, then Priya's help might have been another move in a larger game. Was Willow Street a safe house, or a trap with my name already on the door? Savannah tapped her phone, and seconds later, mine buzzed. Unknown number. I opened it with shaking hands. Savannah, you're in over your head. That drive won't save you. Meet me on the upper deck, alone. Or the next set of photos won't just be of you leaving HR. My throat went dry. Photos. The ones from the envelope. Proof they had eyes on me everywhere. Proof they could touch anyone in my orbit. I scanned the crowd. A mother wrangled two kids near the snack kiosk. A man in overalls snored against his duffel. Ordinary, harmless. Yet anyone could be holding a phone, snapping proof of my every move. I climbed the stairs to the upper deck, each step ringing like a countdown. Savannah was already there, leaning against the railing, hair whipping in the wind, perfectly composed. She smiled when she saw me, like this was coffee between colleagues, not a negotiation on a moving prison. You run well, she said, tucking her phone away. Better than most. I didn't waste time. Why are you doing this? What's the endgame? Leo's lies, the fabricated complaints, the surveillance. What do you get out of it? Her gaze drifted to the skyline sliding past us. You think too small. It's not about your promotion. It's about control. Every organization needs narratives, heroes, villains, cautionary tales. You were never meant to be a hero. You're leverage. A lesson. I clutched the drive tighter. Then this ruins you. Proof of the sabotage. The VPN trails. Leo's fingerprints. Savannah chuckled, low and pitying. That's a seed we planted for you to find. A leash disguised as evidence. Use it, and it loops back to you. Fraud. Manipulation. Prison. We don't forge documents without weaving the noose into them. My chest caved. The drive in my hand wasn't salvation. It was a trap. Savannah stepped closer, her perfume sharp in the salt air. But you're smart. You could be more useful with us than against us. Hand me the drive, walk away from this charade, and we'll rewrite your chapter. Fail? She leaned in, her whisper slicing the wind. And the next person in those photos won't be you. She held out her hand, calm, certain. Below us, the city shrank into distance. And in that moment, I had to choose, surrender the drive and gamble my soul, or jump with it into waters that might kill me, but might still set me free. The ferry pitched on a swell, metal groaning beneath our feet. Savannah's hand hovered between us, palm open, patient. She wasn't bluffing. She never bluffed. She already believed I'd cave. I stared at the thumb drive, slick with sweat in my palm. A leash, she'd called it. A noose. If I gave it up, I was theirs. If I kept it, they'd destroy me. Somewhere below deck, a child laughed. The sound sliced through the pressure, reminding me of something Leo once said during one of his darker moods. Everyone has a drowning point. You just have to hold them under long enough. Not me. Not today. I backed toward the railing. Savannah's smile faltered, just slightly. Don't be stupid. That water's freezing. The current will smash you against the pylons. Better than handing you the rope. My voice shook, but the words came sharp. Her eyes narrowed. You won't make it 50 yards. And if you do, you'll have nothing. We already own the narrative. I lifted the drive high, letting the wind catch the plastic lanyard loop like a flag. Then I'll write my own. And before fear could claw me back, I vaulted the railing. The impact was a fist of ice. Water punched into my lungs, my clothes dragging me down like anchors. The ferry's engines thundered overhead, churning froth into a deadly undertow. I kicked hard, panic screaming, clutching the drive like it was the only solid thing left in the world. Above, muffled shouts. A horn blared. Someone yelled, "Man overboard." Salt water burned my throat. I forced my body upward, broke the surface in a ragged gasp, and saw the ferry sliding away, Savannah's silhouette sharp against the rail. She didn't shout. She didn't reach. She just raised her phone and snapped another picture. The current tore me sideways toward the shadow of a dock piling. My arms ached, legs cramping, but adrenaline shoved me forward. I clawed onto a barnacle-crusted ladder bolted into the pier, dragging myself up rung by slippery rung until I collapsed onto wet concrete, coughing seawater, chest on fire. When my vision cleared, I realized I wasn't alone. A figure crouched in the shadows of the pier, hood pulled low, hand extended. A familiar voice whispered, "You made the right call. Now get up, we don't have much time." It was Priya, and she wasn't alone. Two strangers stood behind her, each with cameras already recording. The red recording lights blinked like eyes in the shadows, unblinking, merciless. Priya knelt beside me, pressing a towel into my trembling hands. Salt stung my lips, my skin raw from the water, but all I could focus on were those cameras. What are you doing?" My voice was shredded, half-choked. Priya's eyes flicked to the men behind her. "Proof. You're not safe if your story stays in the dark. They spin lies faster than you can breathe. But raw footage? Unedited? That's harder to erase." The taller man stepped forward, adjusting his lens. "Just tell us what you told HR," he said softly. "What Leo and Savannah did. Say it now, while you're fresh out of the water. Real fear plays better than polished speeches." Plays better. My stomach twisted. This wasn't just rescue. It was spectacle. I didn't agree to this. I snapped, hugging the drive to my chest. Priya's expression softened with something like guilt. "I know, but you don't have choices left. They've boxed you in. Compliance, HR, even the police, they're compromised. The only way to beat them is to go wider. Public. Viral. The footage will do what evidence alone can't. I glanced at the cameras again. Two strangers, silent, faceless behind their equipment. Were they allies, or just another set of predators circling blood? What about Willow Street? I asked. My voice cracked on the name. Priya's lips tightened. Not safe. That message wasn't me. They wanted you in a place with no eyes. That's why I brought mine. She gestured at the cameras. Eyes everywhere. That's the only shield you have left. A new sound cut the air, the crunch of tires on gravel above the pier. Headlights sliced through the slats of the boardwalk. Priya froze. They found us faster than I thought. The men lifted their cameras higher, one whispering, "Keep rolling." Adrenaline surged through me again, hotter than the seawater still clinging to my clothes. If I ran, I looked guilty. If I stayed, I might be dragged away. But if I spoke now, every word would hit the world before they could smother me. The headlights swung closer, voices shouting from above. Priya grabbed my arm. Say it. Say it now, before they get to you. The cameras zoomed in, red lights burning into my eyes. My mouth opened. And then, over the roar of engines, a voice boomed down from the dock, unmistakable, even distorted by distance. Leo, don't listen to her. She's unstable. I have proof she staged everything. The men with cameras hesitated. One lowered his lens. And in that flicker of doubt, I felt the ground tilt again. Leo's voice rolled down from the dock like a sermon, calm and commanding, as if he already owned the ending. He stepped into the wash of headlights, suit jacket thrown over one shoulder, his hair slicked back like he'd just walked out of a board meeting instead of hunting me through the city. She's unstable, he repeated, holding a folder high for the cameras. This, he shook it like a holy book, is evidence. Bank transfers, forged contracts, even her messages admitting guilt. She's been trying to frame us because she couldn't handle the pressure of her new role. The cameraman shifted uneasily. One lowered his rig entirely. Priya hissed under her breath. It's fabricated. Every sheet. But Leo had stagecraft on his side. He strode down the steps with the confidence of a man who'd rehearsed this performance 100 times. Look at her, he said, gesturing toward me. Half-drowned, paranoid, clutching a USB stick like it's Excalibur. This isn't a whistleblower. This is a breakdown. My throat closed. Every instinct screamed to shout, to claw the air with truth. But I remembered Savannah's smirk, her warning, the leash disguised as evidence. If I swung too hard, their forgeries would boomerang back and strangle me. So instead, I did the one thing Leo never expected. I stayed silent. I raised the thumb drive slowly, letting the light catch its wet plastic. Every camera lens followed it. Then I slid it into the pocket of my soaked jacket without a word. Leo faltered, just for a beat. His showman's rhythm cracked. He expected a screaming match, the perfect b-roll of a hysterical spouse. Instead, all they captured was his aggression against my silence. Priya seized the moment. Tell them about Aegis, Leo, she said sharply. The device you registered on her router. The one that posted messages from her account while she was asleep. For a second, his mask slipped. Just a second, but the cameras caught it. His jaw tightened, his pupils shrank, his free hand curled into a fist. I stepped forward, water dripping onto the pier. My voice was raw, but steady. You forged my downfall. You stalked me. You sold my life to Savannah for scraps of power. The cameramen lifted their rigs again. Leo's nostrils flared. He could feel the narrative shifting. And then, like a knife through velvet, another voice cut in from the shadows at the edge of the dock. Calm, measured, terrifyingly familiar. Enough, it said. Savannah stepped into the light, cream blazer immaculate, her heels clicking against the wood. Leo spun toward her, relief flashing across his face. Finally, tell them the truth. Tell them. Savannah raised a hand. He fell silent. And with a smile as thin as wire, she said, the truth is, Leo, you've become a liability. The word landed heavier than the headlights glaring off the water. Liability. Leo blinked, the confidence draining from his posture like air from a punctured balloon. What are you saying? His voice cracked, sharp around the edges. Savannah didn't look at him. She looked at the cameras, at me, at the men in suits waiting at the top of the dock. Always playing to her audience. I'm saying this operation requires precision. And you, Leo, you've made a mess. Public chases, photographs left like breadcrumbs, Half-baked forgeries, she'd sked softly. Sloppy. Leo staggered a step closer to her. We had an agreement. You promised. I promised control. Savannah's smile curved, razor thin. And right now, you've lost it. She's standing here, alive, with the drive in her hand and 3 cameras rolling. You should have handled this weeks ago. My pulse hammered. The cameras swung between them, drinking every syllable. Priya's hand gripped my arm like iron, urging me not to interrupt. Leo's voice rose, desperate. You're not pinning this on me. You orchestrated everything. I did exactly what you told me. Every document, every complaint. Savannah finally looked at him, her gaze colder than the tide. And now you've confessed. The cameramen didn't miss it. Their lenses tightened, motors whirring, capturing the flicker of panic in his eyes. Leo's chest heaved. You. He spun toward me, face contorted. You think this saves you? She'll bury you too. You're just a pawn in her game. I stepped forward, water dripping from my jacket, voice steadier than I felt. Then let the world see the board. Savannah tilted her head, amused. Oh, she learns. She turned to the cameras, spreading her arms like a stage performer. Here's your headline. An ambitious woman, a husband who envied her, a corporation protecting its image. All true, all useful. And whether she's victim or villain depends on which cut we release first. My stomach lurched. She wasn't just controlling the game. She was scripting the story. But then one of the cameramen lowered his rig, speaking for the first time. You don't get to decide that. We're live streaming. Savannah froze. The second cameraman tapped his screen, grinning grimly. 12,000 viewers. And climbing. For the first time, Savannah's mask slipped. Just a flicker, but enough. Her eyes darkened, calculating the math of exposure. Leo laughed, hollow and frantic. Now you're trapped too. Savannah's smile snapped back, but it was brittle now. Perhaps. But I never walk onto a stage without an exit. And as if on cue, engines roared again. Another SUV barreling down the dock, headlights flaring like a second act beginning. The SUV's headlights seared across the pier, blinding in their intensity. The crowd of onlookers, dockhands, commuters who had drifted closer, scattered like gulls. The cameramen held their ground, rigs trained forward, streams still rolling, hearts pounding in sync with mine. Savannah didn't flinch. She stepped into the wash of light, her cream blazer glowing like armor. Stand down, she commanded, voice slicing through the chaos. The SUV screeched to a halt a few feet away. 2 doors opened in perfect sync. More suits, more shadows. Leo staggered toward her, panic dripping from every step. You called them? For me? Savannah's smile was pity and silk. Don't take it personally. In this business, everyone is expendable eventually. The men seized him before he could protest, dragging his thrashing body toward the SUV. His shouts cracked into the night. She's lying. It was all her idea. Check the messages. Check. His words cut off as a hand smothered his mouth, shoving him inside. My stomach lurched. Where are they taking him? Savannah turned her gaze on me. Her composure had returned, polished and gleaming. Where he can't hurt himself, or us. Consider it a mercy. The livestream counter ticked higher on the cameraman's screen, 20,000, 30, 40. Comments scrolled faster than eyes could follow. Is this real? She's admitting it. Get the cops. Savannah saw it too. Her jaw tightened, but her voice stayed steady. The world will forget this by morning. They always do. The headlines will say domestic dispute, emotional breakdown. You'll be the tragic heroine. He'll be the disgraced spouse. Neat. Contained. I stepped forward, the thumb drive clutched tight in my fist. Not this time. They're watching you. Every word. You can't rewrite it now. For a heartbeat, silence. Then Savannah's eyes flicked to the cameraman, sharp as scalpels. She gave the faintest nod. The SUV roared again, tires spitting gravel, vanishing into the night with Leo inside. And in the vacuum it left behind, Savannah leaned close enough for only me and the microphones to catch her whisper. You think exposure protects you, but sunlight burns just as well as it heals. Then she turned, heels striking the wood, and melted into the swarm of headlights, suits, and smoke. The cameras swung back to me. Priya gripped my arm. You've got her on record. Use it before they spin it. But before I could answer, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A new message, no number. You're not safe yet. If you want the truth about Savannah, Come alone. Midnight. Old Glassworks factory. And below it, an attachment. A single photo of Savannah, not smiling this time, standing with someone whose face made my blood run cold. It was my boss. Midnight draped the city in steel and shadows. The old Glassworks factory loomed like a mausoleum, broken windows gaping, rusted girders jutting against the sky. My footsteps echoed on cracked concrete as I slipped through a side door, phone clutched tight, thumb drive still in my pocket like a loaded weapon. Inside, the air reeked of dust and oil. Moonlight spilled through jagged panes, catching on shards of glass scattered across the floor. And there, in the center of the cavernous hall, two figures waited. Savannah, and beside her, my boss, my so-called mentor, the one who'd pinned the promotion medal to my chest with rehearsed pride. His face in the leaked photo hadn't lied. He was part of this. Finally, Savannah purred, stepping forward. We were wondering if you'd show. My boss raised a hand, almost kindly. You should have stayed quiet. You had a future, a cushy one, but you dug too deep. Rage surged hot through my chest. You built me up just to break me down. Why? To make an example? Not just an example, Savannah said, circling me like a wolf. A warning. Ambition has a ceiling, and you tried to punch through it. Women like you always think merit is enough. Her smile was venom. We needed to remind the others what happens when they forget the rules. I pulled the thumb drive from my pocket, holding it up like a torch. Then this burns your whole house down. Savannah's laugh rang sharp against the walls. That? Still clinging to it? We gave it to you. Every bite points back to you. Fraud, manipulation, financial misconduct. It's your tombstone, not ours. But my boss frowned, a crack in his composure. Wait, how do you know she hasn't already copied it? Distributed it? Savannah's eyes narrowed. I smiled, even as my hands trembled. I didn't just copy it. I went live the moment I stepped inside. Every word you've said tonight, every smug confession, it's streaming to the same feed that caught Leo's breakdown. Tens of thousands are watching and recording. Their faces drained of color at the same time, predator masks slipping. Footsteps thundered outside, sirens wailing closer, brighter, real this time. Priya's voice echoed from the broken doorway. Keep rolling. Savannah lunged, but my boss grabbed her arm, panic overtaking calculation. It's over, he hissed. And for the first time since this began, I felt the weight lift. The factory filled with flashing blue and red. Officers swarmed, voices commanding, cameras catching it all. As Savannah and my boss were dragged out, still hissing threats, I stood in the ruin of their empire, chest heaving, heart raw. They tried to turn my promotion into a weapon, my ambition into a noose. Instead, it became my sword. And as the night cracked open with sirens and floodlights, I finally knew. I hadn't just survived their betrayal. I had beaten them at their own game.